Well, it's another day fighting the global coronavirus pandemic that has taken over our lives. I'm here with my wife, Robin, and we're sitting in our kitchen because we're not working out of the studio because we're respecting the social isolation guidelines. It's unprecedented what we're seeing in this country and around the world. As a result of this viral pandemic, people are spending more time at home, looking around and thinking, how many more days can I handle this? But we're sticking in okay, right?
Yeah, so far so good.
Yeah.
I actually am loving being at home and being isolated and just spending this time together and doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Well, isolation, quarantine, trapped in close quarters for longer periods of time than ever before with spouses and partners. That creates a challenge for some people, and that's what I want to talk about today. Robin and I are going to share what we've been doing, and we're going to talk about how to avoid relationship conflicts that can sometimes arise when you spend more time together than you're used to. Now, my focus is and always has been to give practical advice and direction to help make this chapter in our lives one we can learn from rather than be fearful of. And as I said, you can see we're home now in our kitchen. I'm speaking to you on my iPad. And many of you are also home with your partner or spouse and feel that you've seen in their faces or heard in their voice maybe a little tension, a little stress. And you're not alone because we're hearing that from a lot of people around the country. Have you heard it from your folks?
A lot of my friends, yes. They touch base with me and they're asking a lot of questions. Could you ask Philip this and could you ask Philip that? And I don't even go ask him. I just tell him myself.
Well, of course. Marriages and relationships nationwide are under a very unique pressure right now. Over in China, where self-quarantining has been in effect since January, think about that, January, February, and into March, there have been several reports of a spike in divorce applications, with one law office receiving over 300 filings in just 3 weeks, when normally they would get maybe a dozen. Experts predict the divorce trend in China will eventually make it over here to the U.S. as we all spend more and more time together. So how do we, and I include my wife Robin and myself in this, maintain harmony in our marriages and relationships during this time? Well, I know how I feel, but I can't speak for Robin, so I'm going to bring her into the conversation now. And, I think part of it, we seem to be getting along really well, at least I think so, but I think that we're not sick.
No, we're not sick.
We don't have the flu. We don't have it, which puts extra pressure and tension on you, and both of us are feeling fine. But let's be honest, how's this going for you?
Did you just stop it? Let's be... Notice he didn't say honest. Why didn't you say honest? No, just kidding. So, actually, we're doing fine because we're going along with our normal lifestyle. And when we're at home, we're not glued together all the time. He's doing his thing with research and working for these shows he's doing here at home. And I really admire him for that. I'm so proud of him for that. So I leave him alone to do his thing and I go do my thing in the house. And it's pretty much normal activity, normal life for us. And however, things have changed, of course. I'm actually cleaning out closets and cleaning out drawers and rearranging things in my own personal space. But that's something I love to do. And our life has been so busy over the years that I haven't been able to do that. It brings me comfort. So we're allowing ourselves to do things that we normally do, but also add in things that bring us comfort.
Yeah. And I was kind of talking to one of my friends the other day on FaceTime, and I said, we're a little embarrassed that we're such homebodies that we're not really noticing a big difference.
That's true.
In terms of stay at home, because we do value our time at home, because when we're out, it's really hectic. And I think part of it is, you and I talked about it at the very beginning, and I think it's important to acknowledge and not just kind of go silent about it, but to acknowledge and say, you know what? We are in a different time here. You have to acknowledge that and say, look, this is going to be different. We're going to be spending a lot of time together, and we're going to be here more, occupying the same space than we normally would. Is that an issue? Is it a problem? Is there something that I can do to make this easier for you or you for me? And I think if you just talk to your partner about it straight up and not pretend that there's not something kind of hanging in the air, then I think it makes it a whole lot easier
That's true.
to deal with.
That's true. Now, some of the things that we have done that's not always common. We live alone, of course, and so kids are raised. We've always cooked together, but now we've stepped that up. We've cooked every meal together, and we really are having fun doing that. We binge watch TV at times before, but now we're really looking. He's searching for fun movies. They're different, and so we've kind of added a little difference to what we've always done. Different movies, different foods, those kind of things. So we are purposely looking for some variety in the normal things we do here at home.
Yeah, like we made chicken and dumplings the other night.
Yes, and I'm always the one that makes them. But
yeah, and I never knew how you do that. So how you did that. So we got in here, and I got the rolling pin. It was actually working on.
I had to make you stop. He was getting a little too thin, but
they were getting they were falling apart when I was putting them in.
We had a ball.
But really, you can find things to do. And here's the thing: just resolve. Think about how many times you said, I wish I had more time with the children. I wish I had more time for us to kind of talk and hang out and not have something pressuring us time-wise. And so I think as we've done that, we've really held on to that and grasped time. And listen, this is a difficult time because there's so many unknowns, and you've got the pressure of thinking, my gosh, am I going to get sick? And how serious is it going to be? But it's also okay to have a sense of humor. And we've been on FaceTime with Jay and Erica and Avery in London, and we've yucked it up with them, with Jordan. He's living out in Malibu now. We've had just so much fun talking back and forth and gotten where there's like 5 or 6 of us on screen at the same time and had a good time. And it's okay to laugh and have fun with us. You got to do that.
You know, I saw something yesterday about a grandfather seeing his grandson for the first time. His son held his new baby up to a window, and that grandfather got to see him for the first time through a window. And to me, it was just so loving and so sweet because they were all taking such care to not be around each other. And that's what isolation is all about. It was kind of sad, but to me, it was beautiful because that describes the isolation and how important it is.
Yeah, and you can use the technology. So here are some questions that people are already asking after a little over 2 weeks of being quarantined in the U.S. How can we learn to fight fair and resolve conflict? How can we meet each other halfway when we have different ideas about how to comply during this lockdown? How in the world are we supposed to live under the same roof without ripping each other apart? How can we communicate better under quarantine? Well, I'm going to talk to a couple of lovely people who have been married almost as long as we have. They've been married 42 years. They practice law together. And they've reached out to us because they said self-isolation is kicking their marriage's butt and they need some guidance. So we're going to patch them in here in just a minute and talk about that. We'll be right back. I want you all to stay as healthy as possible during this pandemic. And of course, that includes your mental health as well. Now, tomorrow we'll be talking about tricks to retrain your brain during times of great stress. I'll be giving you some important tips on how to deal with this when you're facing major anxiety and worry. But that's all tomorrow. Now, with public health officials encouraging self-quarantining and social distancing, COVID-19 has shifted the topics that couples most fight about and put immense pressure on previously existing issues. Now, in light of mounting concerns about it spreading in the U.S., arguments about whether to quarantine or not and how far to go with self-isolation has put marriages to the test. Now, I've invited Pepper and her husband, Pearson, to join Robin and me in this conversation. Now, they're retired attorneys from Georgia who say that the coronavirus quarantine has pushed their 42-year marriage to the limit. So let me invite Pepper and Pearson to join us here. So, guys, how are y'all doing?
We're doing well.
We're doing great.
Surviving.
Well, say hello to Robin. She's joining me as well today.
Hello, Robin. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hello, Pepper. Hello, Pearson.
Now, let me ask you guys, you've been married 42 years, and Robin and I have been married 43.
That's right.
So you guys are chasing us. We got one lap on you. We're 1 year ahead of you.
That's amazing.
Yes, congratulations on that. Now, let me see if I've got the facts right here. You guys actually met in law school, right?
Yes, we did.
That's correct.
Okay, and you actually do a marriage ministry where you work with folks to help help them learn to do well in their marriage and resolve conflicts in their marriage, correct?
Yes, we've been doing that for over 30 years.
Yes.
Oh,
Congratulations.
great. And you're writing a book, I understand.
That's right. And we needed it as much as the people.
Well, I have to tell you, I am just so impressed at your candor and authenticity of being willing to acknowledge your own challenges in your marriage. That just seems to me to add so much credibility to somebody that's talking about marriage challenges and issues. Because I hate it when people try to be paragons of mental health and perfect marriages just because they're giving advice on marriage, because that's just simply not the truth. Everybody goes through ups and downs.
Absolutely.
I just love that y'all are honest enough to talk about that.
Well, that's the hallmark of our marriage ministry.
Yeah.
Because we don't believe that people will believe what we're saying unless we're authentic. And everybody has problems, every single person. And being an expert does not give you some kind of pass on problems.
Absolutely not.
So
Now, Pepper, you say that you've never really considered divorce, but quarantine has made you think twice about it, right?
well, it's been nipping at our heels, I'll say that.
Oh, well, Pepper and Pearson, Philip told me a little of your story. And I just have to say, I'm no expert as the two of you are, but when you said authenticity, that is such a touchstone of marriage, I believe. And so I totally understand what you're saying about a couple of things. Marriage, there's not a perfect marriage. And I really am uncomfortable when someone tries to say that we have a perfect marriage. No. To me, marriage is 24/7, every day that you're married. So I completely understand how you could say that something can happen on a given day and you would actually consider the word divorce. And I'm sorry to hear that. I really am.
Well, Pepper, let me start with you. What's your biggest issue right now?
I don't know where to begin, but it's the tension created by this enforced isolation that it's almost like in Vietnam, they have these fields that they haven't discovered all the landmines in. And so you have to walk gingerly. Well, that's how I feel sometimes. Like if I step on the landmine of Tierson's emotions, I'd say 95% of the time, he's a very congenial, easygoing, laid-back type person. But if I step on that landmine and it's been exacerbated by the fact that we're in this isolation, this, I don't know what you call it, almost like a pressure cooker environment, that I'm afraid that he's going to provoke me to the point where that's what I've been considering, that I just can't, because of my age especially. And, you're always concerned about health issues as you're aging. The stress of him bubbling up and he starts yelling at me sometimes. And it's rare, but it's often enough. And when he does it, it's done in a very embarrassing, like out in public situation, such that it just causes me to feel totally embarrassed and belittled and diminished. And
but I think something that should be brought up is my wife is a very controlling person.
Well, I know that, and I've acknowledged that I'm controlling. I know that.
Acknowledgement is not the same.
I know that, and that's one of my questions to Dr. Phil. I'm hoping he can help me understand how. I mean, I'm the one who's taking this coronavirus situation more seriously than he is. And I just don't want us to get sick. And I don't know how to I don't know how to control the situation and not be controlling at the same time. I mean, I have to make sure that the food that we bring in the house is safe and that we don't bring germs in the house. So I have this whole protocol for bringing our groceries. I'm sorry, but bringing our groceries in the house. I have this whole protocol for that. And he gets annoyed, he doesn't really understand the importance of it.
Well, I don't think that's fair to say I get annoyed. I used to get annoyed, but now I understand the gravity of the situation.
You understand more
and
now.
I help you put the groceries and wipe them off and everything.
You do help me. I'm not saying he doesn't help me. I'm saying it's the attitude. And then when you're in this controlled environment, I never had to have my groceries delivered before, first of all. I always, enjoy going shopping for my own food. I never had to go through all this protocol of I have to, when they come, I have to wait till they leave, then I got to spray outside, then I got to spray all the bags, and then I got to spray each item in the bag, and then I bring it in the house, and he's supposed to be there for me to hand it to, and then he's supposed to put it in the sink and then wash it off and then dry it. I'm talking about each item in the grocery bag. We're going through this, and it takes a lot of time.
Okay, well, take a breath for a minute. You got to take a breath. You can't just talk nonstop. Pearson, do you take this serious?
Yes, I do now. I didn't at the beginning because as I have a deep distrust for the press, and so they were bringing these things out, and everything has been so it's extra lately, and everything is so blown out of proportion. So I didn't try to take that too seriously. But then when I saw what was happening in South Korea and Italy, then I began to take it seriously. And
but not serious enough.
Now, listen, we got to take a break. And Robin says she hears you 100%, Pepper. So I'm going to let her respond when we come back in a minute. But you guys are raising an issue that is really pervasive throughout the United States right now. So listen, if you're feeling the pressure like Pepper and Pearson, if you don't see things exactly the same way, don't go anywhere because, well, first of all, you can't. I mean, you're stuck at home. So we've got a captive audience. And secondly, we do have some advice that could dramatically improve their self-quarantine experience and yours as well. We'll be right back. I'm having a conversation with Pepper and her husband, Pearson. Robin is here to discuss this with us. And Pepper and Pearson say that they're being self-quarantined due to coronavirus, and it has put a lot of pressure on their 42-year marriage. And let's face it, they're not alone. We're hearing a lot of this from around the country. China, who's ahead by 2 or 3 months, is seeing a real spike in divorce activity. So I'm wanting to make sure that doesn't happen here in the United States. So we're talking about how to decompress the pressure cooker. Now, Pearson, Pepper, one of the things you guys are really having some frustration about is you have seen this from a different point of view in that, Pearson, you didn't take it quite as seriously as Pepper did. And now That's you're right. A little bit on the same page. But, Robin, you said you totally feel Pepper when she's saying what she was saying.
Yes, Pepper. I feel so many of the things that you just said. So I won't go into everything, but there are a few things that really touched my heart. When you apologized for being a controller, I wanted to say, no, don't apologize for being a controller, because I'm somewhat of a controller as well. I'll just admit it. I'm a controller. And this is probably one of the times I believe that you should be a controller. This is something that none of us have ever gone through, this pandemic, this horrible virus. And so, yes, just celebrate being a controller and being in control of your environment, of your health, and the health of your husband, Pearson. So celebrate being a controller and stand firm on that, because that's what I'm doing. I really believe in isolation in this quarantine and all of the rules. And Pearson, you may believe that you cannot trust all of the news, but everything they're all saying, though, is for our health and for our safety. So celebrate the control factor in your personality. And then also, everything that you said, I kept thinking of a quote that I say a lot of the times. If you really love me, don't entertain my enemies. And the way I relate to that here is you see this virus and you see the other people he's going up to, he's entertaining when he goes out to visit your enemies. And Pearson, if you could just think of it that way, that every time you just forget about her feelings when you allow someone in your home, or you go to someone else's home, or you even interact with anyone, you're bringing her concerns and her worries back to her without even thinking of her. That's the way I'm feeling for you, Pepper. And I just hope that helps a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's an awesome perspective. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
That helps me too, Rob.
Thank you.
And all of us, the four of us here, are in the age group that is higher risk if something does happen. The risk-reward ratio is just not worth it. The ratio just doesn't work out. And, it really gets down to acknowledging the situation very specifically, where the two of you can sit down and say, look, we don't have to think exactly the same way, but we do need to acknowledge that we both want the same thing. We both want to come through this as healthy and happy as we possibly can. And that means physically and emotionally. You don't want to come through this where at the end of it, you have resentment towards one another because you're blaming Pepper or Pearson for this pandemic that we're in and all the fallout that comes from it. We're victims of this, not perpetrators. You two are in this together. And even though you may not react to it exactly the same, you do recognize that both of you are being victimized here. You're not perpetrators, so you should really have each other's back on this, even if you do it a little bit differently.
It's so true.
Yes. I've come to that conclusion belatedly, but I now take it pretty seriously, and so I've sort of changed my tune.
But the problem is, how do we deal with this?
Well, and one of the things that, and you guys probably know this, and I suspect you probably teach it as well, but one of the things that I really recommend is when you guys talk about this, use I statements instead of you statements. In other words, Pearson, instead of saying to Pepper, you are controlling, you are wanting me to do this, instead you can say, I feel this way. I feel like I'm being controlled or trapped. I own my feelings. So you can say how you feel, not how she's behaving. If you can use I statements instead of you statements, then you're not violating one of Gottman's four horsemen that really seal the fate of a marriage. You're not being critical. You're not showing contempt. You're not being defensive, and you're not stonewalling. You actually, what you're doing is just simply saying, look, here's how I feel. This is how I react to this sort of thing. And if you do that, you're going to allow him to have his feelings, and Pearson, you're going to feel the right to express those things. And you've also got to have a sense of humor here. I mean, you guys seem to me like you're an awful lot of fun. And, when we take the humor out of things, then chemicals in our brains like dopamine and oxytocin go away, and we need those to lift our mood, to make us feel better. So you've got to get back to where you can laugh some and have a good time. And it's not that you're doing anything wrong by being concerned, but at the same time, when you are safe and when you are home, you gotta have some fun, and you got to have a sense of humor and laugh about this as well, because this could be a long haul. This could go on for a while.
Pepper, play some games. As a controller, I love to win at games in a fun way. So I agree with Phil.
Yeah, I can't find anything I can beat her at. But all right, listen, I've got to talk to Pepper and Pearson about how to fight fair if they do fight, so viewers at home can learn that as well. We'll be right back. I want you all to stay as healthy as possible during this pandemic. And of course, that includes your mental health. Tomorrow, we'll be talking about tricks to retrain your brain during times of great stress. I'll be giving you some important tips on how to deal with major anxiety and worry. That's tomorrow. How do you best communicate under quarantine? Pepper and Pearson are retired attorneys who spent their careers arguing tough cases, but say nothing prepared them for the biggest threat to their marriage, and that's arguing while staying home to avoid catching COVID-19, the coronavirus. So we're talking to Pepper and Pearson today. Robin is joining me because we're doing the same thing everybody else is doing.
That's right. That's right.
We're living in this
Just the two of us.
Self-isolation. How do you think we're doing?
I think we're doing very well.
Yeah,
Really?
I think so too. And Pepper and Pearson are really interesting because they conduct a marriage ministry. They're writing a book on this. They've been doing this ministry for 30 years, and they're absolutely a delightful couple. And I want to talk to you guys, Pepper and Pearson, about rules of fighting fair, because I know you guys, you teach a lot of this, and so I'm going to use you as teaching tools here. Because people do have disagreements and they fight fair. And so I've kind of made rules up for this. And I want to give you guys a test and see if you do each of these things or not. And number one is when you do fight, I always tell people, because other people can be around, family or friends, is to take it private and keep it private. Do you guys do that when you have a disagreement? Do you take it off to the side? Do you keep it away from family, friends?
That's one of the big problems, Dr. Phil and Robin. I keep it private. Pearson does not care whether or not it's private or not.
Well, I think what we have is a disagreement about her keeping it private, because the things that she thinks shouldn't bother me do bother me, and so she thinks she's keeping it private, but to me it's public. And so, but she's not recognizing that.
I'm saying when you start yelling at me, you don't care who's around. You did it out in the middle of the street in the public.
Okay, so that's how he embarrasses you sometimes.
Yeah.
He comes up with other people.
Yes. And
I'm going to give you a bad mark on that, Pearson, because you don't want to do that. You get a mark on that. All right, number two is keep it relevant, and that means that when you're talking about something, you got to keep it relevant to what's happening right then. You can't pull something up from 6 weeks ago or 6 months ago, right?
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. That's a good one.
How are you keeping it in the here and now?
We pretty much keep things on track in terms of keeping it relevant. And
but you oftentimes bring up, I feel like I'm doing too much finger pointing. You oftentimes bring up something I did. You'll tell me about something I did like 2 weeks ago, and try to bring it into the current situation. And I always
only if it's relevant. Only if it's relevant.
Okay, but it's not in the here and now. So I'm going to give you a bad mark on that one too. You're admitting, you're confessing some things here, Pearson. All right, number three is you got to keep it real. And that means you've got to be honest about your feelings at the time. You can't say nothing when it's something. You can't bring in something that doesn't have anything to do with the issue. People argue about topics, but they don't talk about issues. You got to keep it real and deal with what's actually going on, not some substitute topic that's safer. How do you guys do on that front?
Well, that's where I think that Pepper has a problem, because when I ask her what's wrong, she'll say nothing.
Oh yeah,
and she'll expect me to figure out what's wrong.
Yeah.
All right, Robin has a confession to make here. This will help you out, Pearson.
Okay.
Yes, I used to do that. I don't do that anymore.
All right, that's true. She used to do that. She used to say nothing, which meant lots, and it's you, buddy.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't learned
that, right?
Yeah, I haven't learned that yet. That's not a good thing. I get a bad mark there. I definitely get a bad mark there, because I will say nothing, because Robin especially, she can understand. Don't you think oftentimes they should know what's wrong?
Oh, yes.
Okay, they should know what's wrong.
Pearson,
They've done
you can't
something.
read the
They're
minds.
going to say what's wrong. You know?
But we
to
don't
ask.
have a clue.
We can't read their minds, Pearson.
Right.
They got to tell us.
Hey, we don't have a clue.
That's
And
your
the other
go-to
thing,
answer.
All right,
Yeah.
more of this list. More of this list when we come back. This has turned out to be the guys against the girls here, but we're 2-1 behind, Pearson. We'll be right back. Well, we're back with Pepper and her husband, Pearson, and Robin and I are having a conversation with them about how to manage differences when you're self-quarantining at home and seeing each other 24/7. Now, we're talking about how to resolve differences, which means how to fight and fight fair. We've talked about some of the things already. And number 4 is you have to avoid character assassination. And that means if you're going to get into a disagreement, you've got to keep it on topic, on issue, and not get into assassinating each other's character with personal attacks. Pearson, Pepper, how do you score yourselves on this one?
I don't think we do badly on that in that regard. I try very hard to not attack Pearson's character because I feel like that's disrespectful, and I work hard at not disrespecting him because I know that's a big deal for him to be respected. So
yeah, I think we one of the things we do is when we do go off and say something that's conclusory as opposed to descriptive, then we catch each other and say, that was not.
All right, so you get good marks there then. Number 5 is you have to remain task-oriented. You're trying to solve a problem, right? Can you guys stay on task in terms of solving the problem?
Yes.
Get both good marks.
do we remain on task?
Yes.
Do we rate? Yeah, we remain on task. One of the things that we do, we try to pray our way through things. I don't know about your audience, but we're Christians, and we believe that one of the ways that we are able to manage stress and manage argument is to surrender our wills and our hearts to the Lord, so that the Lord then can talk to us and love us through each other, through each other. And so,
yeah, but sometimes we get where we won't even pray together.
Well, that's true.
I'll ask you to pray with me, and then you'll not want to pray.
Well, that goes.
Vice versa. I have done it too.
Well, that goes to number 6, and that is to allow your partner to retreat with dignity, and that's really important, right? We're very good about that, right?
Yes.
I mean, you got to, even if you're right, you've got to allow your partner to retreat with dignity. You got to be a gracious winner, just as you do a gracious loser if you're wrong about something. Are you guys gracious when you get down to it?
I think my problem there might be that I'm not want. He'll apologize, and I'll walk around not really wanting to accept his apology because I'm so hurt. And I think maybe that's not a good thing to do.
Yeah. Well, number 7 is to be proportional in your intensity. Do you guys do that? I mean, do you not kill a mosquito with a shotgun? You don't overreact. Can you be proportional in how much you react to things?
Well, I think, Pearson, you want to address that? Because, yeah, I think he needs to address that, to admit.
Well, yeah, a lot of times I go overboard. And I get excited about and emotional about certain things because the whole issue of respect, sometimes I think that she doesn't really see what I'm seeing, and she doesn't respect my issues.
He'll just go off.
And
it's like a pressure cooker. The top, it just blows off.
Right. What do you think about that? Give him some advice about keeping his cool here.
Well, one thing that really works for us is to not just jump to a conclusion on how the other feels or what the other is thinking. And I feel like maybe you both maybe do that. Pearson maybe more. And what works for us is to keep acknowledging, well, my perception of what you just said is this. My perception of this entire conversation is this. And not just throw out that, here's what you said, here's what you're thinking. That really frustrates me with Philip, and when he tries to tell me what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling, because it's impossible. He's brilliant, yes. It's impossible, in my opinion. My perception is it's impossible for him to really, truly know what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling.
Boy, well, I confess to that. That's for absolute sure. All right, more about all of this living together in harmony while we're isolated when we come back. Well, we're back, and Robin and I take self-isolation very seriously. We take social distancing very seriously. We take keeping our hands washed and doing all the things that we need to do to stay healthy very seriously. And we're having a conversation with Pepper and Pearson, a delightful couple that have been married 42 years. We've been married 43, so we have a lot in common, about how to stay harmonious during self-isolation. And Pepper, Pearson, we just have a few minutes left. I just wanted to see if either of you have a specific question that Robin and I could answer about anything that we haven't talked about so far. I think you guys have been very open and candid, and I think have talked about a lot of things that are going to help people around the country. I just wanted to see if you had a question you wanted to ask before we wrapped up here.
Well, I think Robin has very aptly addressed my question of how to control this situation without being controlling. And she's saying basically to embrace that aspect of my nature, particularly at this time when it's so needed. And that gives me a totally different perspective on things. And if she wants to elaborate upon that any further, but I think that's my main concern. I want to control this situation, but I don't want to be this controlling spirit over my husband such that it causes him to feel provoked at the slightest thing.
You know, Pearson, I have to say my attitude about this, in all the time that Robin and I have been together, we've been married 43 and together almost 47 years, has always been kind of the home is her dominion. And, you know, she kind of sets the tone and the rules and the guidelines. And I always said early on, I'll make the living and you make the living worthwhile. And she's done a fabulous job of raising the children and creating a warm and comfortable home. And when she says, you know, we're going to kind of do this way, I kind of pony up and do what I need to do, because she doesn't. No, what am I going to do? Fix it? I'm not going to fix it. I just got to go along with it. So maybe we should tell her to just shut up and do what we're told when it comes to how to behave around this. Right now, we're in their zone, right?
Oh, that's right. That's absolutely correct.
He hasn't gotten to where you are, Dr. Phil.
Well, no, I haven't. But I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress.
I just want to say one short thing about being in control. It's very different than controlling everyone around you in the entire situation, and everyone has to come to what you say. I just mean embrace your controlling nature, in that you want to be in control of your health and Pearson's health and the environment. And I just really, truly believe that there's nothing wrong with that. I support that. And so don't stop that. Feel powerful and in control, because you're doing what it takes to be healthy and safe.
Listen, you and I need to just acknowledge we both married way over our heads.
Amen, brother.
We just need to be glad we did. Guys, we're out of time. Thank you so much for sharing your truth with us. I think it's touched a lot of lives today. I'm proud to meet both of you. I hope to do it in person one day.
Thank you.
Right.
Appreciate it. Bye, Robin.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right, next, what happens when you're quarantined with your partner and run out of things to say? I can't imagine, but we'll talk about that next. Well, we're back, and we've been talking about living together in isolation. And it's a difficult thing to do because you're kind of trapped. You don't get to do a lot of the activities and hobbies that you've had before. Maria posted this question on Facebook. My boyfriend and I have run out of things to say to each other, and it's day 10 of self-isolation, which could go on for a long time. Does that mean we're incompatible? No, it doesn't mean you're incompatible. It just means you're learning how to be together in a way that you haven't been before. And I think it's really important to do a couple of things. Think back to why you got together to begin with. What was it that attracted you to each other? What did you really love about each other? What was intriguing about each other? And do this. Finish each day by making a list of 20 blessings that you think really grace your life and share those with each other. I promise you that will really spark a lot of conversation. And you had an idea as well.
Yes, I think that I'd love to play games. And I have recently found a game that I love. And it's called We're Not Really Strangers. And multi-level game, very much fun. Very, very smart game. You should get online, order that, and play that game. You will love it. You can play it over and over.
And all kinds of games are fun.
Yes,
Whatever. We
yes.
play cards, we play Scrabble, we play all
Yahtzee.
kinds of things. And you can play games online with your friends too.
Yes.
Just get on, play charades, do
Yes.
anything. If you get on FaceTime, whatever. You can do all sorts of things.
Fun.
Listen, we talked to Pepper and Pearson today. Really had an interesting conversation. I want to thank them for talking to me. For more information about today's show, log on to drphil.com. Don't forget to check me out on any of my social media outlets, including Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And while you're staying indoors, don't forget to listen to podcasts. You can find me at Fill in the Blanks. You can find Robin on Give 'Em Your Name.
I've got a secret.
I've got a secret. She's always got her hands up when she's saying it. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.
Bounce, bounce, all the girlies bounce. Take 'em to my house, turn the party out. Bounce, 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 all the girlies bounce. Take 'em to my house, turn the party out.
You warned me 1,000 times, memories can kill ya, but I didn't hear ya. I thought that I could fly, but woke up on the asphalt. I swear there was the last time. I've always been naive, call it